Hi everyone, I'm Ierie, and this is Reminisce with This, where I take a little time out of my day to sit and reminisce with you on simpler times from all journeys of my life. From all of my different passions, hobbies, and interests, I will tell a little story along the way on how I got here today and what brought me to continue to collect throughout this journey. I have been enjoying this time spent so far just reminiscing on my own memories and being able to share them as I go through this journey. Every different day throughout the week has been a different theme, and each theme has really ignited a passion of mine further to an extent of really being able to appreciate the hobby that I have and all of the things that I've collected, not just from physical form, but memories as well. And I really have to say thank you, for the few that have interacted with me and from those that do reach out and let me know about their different hobbies that they are in that they have enjoyed and all of the different memories that they have been reminiscing on and just the overall experience that I get to share as I create this channel. This is fairly new to me, but I have thoroughly enjoyed thus far. And for today, of course, it is What's That Wednesday. And with that being said, I did have a commenter of Kiddo 280 request a certain Venusaur figure, and I figured why not dive into all of the different Venusaur figures that I have with one other item that will be a part of What's That Wednesday, as that will be my personal choice for something that I will share a memory on. And I have been really enjoying this, like I said, thus far. So being able to dive into all of the different little figures that I have and the way that it's come along the way, I really appreciate my collection a little bit more, as the memories that coincide with them really just bring me so much joy to be able to reflect on something that I may have not thought about in a while. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get into it. These different Venusaur figures range from the I forget what brand they were, but honestly, I used to get these little figures. They used to come in packs of, I think, like 4, but I would get them at gas stations. Most kids would get candy and stuff like that, and I would request to get these little figures, and I would collect plenty of them, and I have a lot. Some of them are duplicates, but I do have quite a bit of these. I need to figure out on how to exactly place them in my collection, as I would like to probably put them all on display, but because of how tiny they are and how much space they take up, I really want to find exactly what would be the best way to represent these amazing figures from my childhood. Like I said, they used to come in, I think, packs of 4 from what I remember correctly, and I remember, the best times opening these up, because they were from personally, I felt like they were the first blind boxes or blind bags that I got into as a kid, because I want to say they were the late 90s, early 2000s, and I was collecting them consistently until one day I didn't see them anymore at the gas stations and stuff like that, which was kind of a bummer, because I didn't really have as many as I would like, but I also had a fixation as a child to sit and chew on them, because they are more of a I'm trying to think of exactly that. It's not. They're, of course, they're plastic of sorts, but they're more of a pliable plastic. Some of them have a more flimsy type of plastic. Now, I really have like I said, an appreciation for them because I was able to get so many of these, as some of the other figures were a little harder to come by. But over time, it they got more and more expensive as I got older and trying to find them online. Now they go for hundreds of dollars, or $25 for just one singular one, and then an unopened pack can go for hundreds of dollars, unfortunately. So it is a little harder to come by, but for the little Venusaur here, I do have a mad appreciation. I do have the full evolution set for these tiny figures. So if you would like to see more of the tiny figures over time, let me know, as they are not on display here, but I do have quite a few of them. And going into the next will be the Tomy figure. I want to actually say this is my first Venusaur, as I didn't have a Tomy Venusaur figure when I was a kid, so I got this. I was probably in like the 6th grade, so still a kid, but not as little as I was when I first started collecting Tomy figures. Now, I want to say this specific figure is not an authentic Tomy figure, but I did want to represent it here as it was the first one that I did have, and it has always brought me joy, as I used to use this specific figure a lot of the times in the playing aspect of reincorporating my own version of Pokemon the first movie. I would have 2 Venusaur figures, and that's how I could differentiate the clone from the real one. And for that is going to be this Venusaur figure here. As you can see, it's gone through the ringer. It's definitely broken quite a bit. I had tried to super glue it and save it many times, to the point where there was just no way of saving it. So this figure holds a special place in my heart, simply from all the memories that were able to be made with that. Many times I shared a lot of this figure play with my sisters. We constantly were playing with Pokemon, and then every once in a while, when our cousins would come to visit, they would join in on the playing of my Pokemon figures, and we just had a really great time being able to have an imagination that roamed free and creating our own storylines and things like that. And I was always happy to have my sisters play with me with the figures, because they had the similar interests and they enjoyed that interaction as much as I did. Sometimes we would fight over who got which Pokemon, but at the end of the day, I can reflect on so many of these wonderful memories and how we created our own versions of our own favorite Pokemon episodes or movies, and continued them from going from when that movie or episode ended. We would continue that journey with our own imagination. With that, I will say that I did actually later on in life get the real Tomy Venusaur figure from the early 90s. This has some great qualities. I really loved the older Tomy figures because as they do have some pretty great detail from the late 90s, whereas some of the toys back then were not of the best quality. But honestly, I really do appreciate from where it started to where it progressed. Now, these are going to be 2 other Tomy figures that I did end up getting over time. Now, they are going to be, of course, different. As you could tell from the Tomy figure, this one has a lot more detail. It is definitely, smoothed out a bit more. It has definitely more of the detail that took more of a, it doesn't look, not saying that the Tomy from the 90s looked bad by any means, like I said, but it has more of that realistic from the cartoon look, while I feel that the Tomy from the 90s has more of that Pokemon card look. And this is a different variation from that. It looks as if this Venusaur here is using Razor Leaf, which I always love these of the figures where it looks like they are interacting with some kind of power or specific moves that they are using during this time. And I've always loved this figure, and I came by this figure probably within the last 5 years. I've collected a lot more of these figures throughout time as I found them here and there on different apps and purchasing websites, from Mercari to eBay to Amazon and so forth, and even sometimes found them at garage sales. So my collection has grown quite some due to finding them and getting lucky. And sometimes the figures aren't in the best condition when I buy them, and like for the most of my collections and things like that, I don't necessarily care about the quality all the time about a figure. I kind of feel that when I do collect figures that are broken, or I buy them and I get them cheaper because they're not fully together, I just think of it as me giving that figure a home where it's going to be valued and appreciated. As someone that has the vast majority of my Pokemon collection from my childhood. I don't have all of them, but I have the vast majority of them where they're not in the best condition, and I still found a place for them in my collection, and I still found a home for them. So with that being said, I will be going into now the Tomy Mega Venusaur figure. This one is definitely one of my favorites, simply because it does have more of the posability aspect as well, so you get more play with it. You can pose it a little bit differently, but I always have a mad appreciation for these figures, as I got these figures, a lot of my Mega Pokemon figures, I got them at Toys R Us, which always was a pleasure for me to go into a Toys R Us and find these toys and be able to purchase them and still go around and have that remembrance of being a kid and having a lot of these places at Toys R Us that allowed you to play with toys and things like that, where as I got older they kind of took those away, but having that moment in time be so precious to me is something that I'll always reflect on, as Toys R Us are kind of showing up here and there, but nowhere to the capacity that they used to be. But I did buy this Venusaur at a Toys R Us. I do have another Mega Venusaur where I did buy at a Target, but this specific Venusaur is one of the ones that is from the first purchase that I did get at Toys R Us when they were first released, and I went on a hunt for all of the Pokemon Tomy figures as they were releasing at the time, especially the Mega Pokemon, as I was absolutely in love with them. I enjoyed their aesthetic, and I loved how different but yet the same of each Pokemon, of course, because it's just them and a different form, but it really brought a kind of how I envisioned a lot of my imagination as a kid. There is that one episode of Pokemon where Ghastly combines Venusaur and Blastoise to make Venustoids, and to me that kind of always is how I kind of envisioned this Mega Venusaur, just without the Blastoise aspect. I really did think that this coming to life is if it didn't have the Blastoise attached to it. So I really do love this figure a lot. It is a staple in my collection, and I absolutely love it. Now, the newest addition over the years, this is one that honestly, it kind of took some time to get me into the Jazzwares figures, as I don't necessarily feel that they are my favorite. Just growing up with the Tomy figures, I guess I was kind of spoiled in that sense of detailing, and I'm still getting used to that printed on kind of aesthetic for a lot of the Jazzwares. But as time has come to be, I have some that have really grown on me, and the Battle Ready figures are the ones that have started to really grow on me the most, whereas the smaller ones are getting there. but this Venusaur, I have loved it. It reminded me of the Hasbro Venusaur figure from when I was a kid that I used to have, that used to be able to pull the little razor leaf and then push the button and it would kind of like retract as if it was using razor leaf. So of course this one doesn't have any of those capabilities to do anything other than be a big figure. It does have the possibility to open up and close its mouth, where, you know, it also has these posability features as well. Now that's not super great, but it's still what it is. For what it is, it's awesome. Now it does remind me in this form, like having a bigger one like this, it kind of reminds me of a giant toad that has, you know, had some kind of greenery growing off of it. But I've always kind of envisioned Bulbasaur's evolution line as like dinosaurs. And of course, as you know, I grew up loving dinosaurs, so a lot of the Pokemon to me, I think that's where my infatuation of Pokemon were, is that they were in a way a correlation to my love for dinosaurs. And Venusaur is one of those that has always been one of my favorites evolution lines, from Bulbasaur, Ivysaur, and then of course Venusaur and Mega Venusaur. So being able to have this is very nostalgic to me. I still have the desire to get that Hasbro Venusaur figure, but unfortunately I do look at a lot of the ones that I have seen, and for the most part, those are, I haven't found one that I want to purchase. As like I stated, there are figures that if they are broken and stuff like that, I have no problem getting them to make them a part of my collection, so that they, in a way, they have a home, right? But there are times that a lot of the ones that I have seen are ones that have like a bunch of Sharpie markings and stuff like that, and then trying to clear that up would probably deteriorate or rub off the plastic coloring. So I steer away from those, but I'm sure that I will be able to find exactly what I want at some point, as I think that will be the staple of my original 90s toys Venusaur collection, while this will be the prominent staple for the Venusaur today. So at some point I will have that figure. As the figure that I'm going to show, this comes into a two-part system where, you know, I can reflect and kind of think about how I might have come off as a little ungrateful, but you know, I grew up with an amazing grandma who always tried to do her best to have me included in things where, you know, putting me into Boy Scouts and stuff like that. So I was able to make friends. And when I first moved to California in 2005, my grandma had me get into Boy Scouts, where I was very blessed to meet some amazing people that took it upon themselves to really take me under their wing and show me on what they would say would be the kind of crafty side of things. And I remember the first time I heard about a Pinewood Derby race, and so they took it upon themselves to ask if I was interested and if I wanted to participate, and if I did, what would my theme be. And so that being said, I was super excited because I had so many ideas, and this incorporated my very first Pikachu figure that I had got when I was a very little kid. It was the Pikachu that came in the Ash 2-pack, or I think it was like Ash and a couple Pokemon, but I know it was Ash and a Pikachu, and this Pikachu has been through it. This is one of those figures that I really wore and tore on it, and it's still a staple because of the memories made. Now, again, where I came to be, I would say, a little ungrateful is that I probably didn't have the best attitude after the Pinewood Derby race. I did feel that I was bummed out, and my bummed out emotions kind of made the people who helped me along the way feel like I might have been a little ungrateful. But as a kid that's in 5th grade that loses a race in a way where I wasn't able to participate in a lot of sports as a kid because of my asthma, so having one thing that I was participating in as a race, as something that I hadn't done before, other than like Pokemon card tournaments or video game tournaments, this was something that I was able to really challenge a lot of other kids at, and it really did feel sports-like for me. So when I lost, it was a bummer, but I still have had nothing but appreciation for those people, and I hope that they are doing well regarding just their overall life, because they really did bring out an amazing memory for me. And the fact that I still have this Pinewood Derby car with my Pikachu figure after all of these years, after 21 plus years or something like that, I am super happy that I still have this, and it's a very special, prominent figure in my collection today, because it was something that they really took the time to help create. They did the painting and really just made this an amazing memory for me. As you can see, that Pikachu is definitely rough. It's had its ears chewed off, it's had its tail chewed off, but at the same time, it's just what really was the staple of my first Pikachu figure, and all of the memories that went into it. It reminds me of where I started and where I've come and how far I've come from my figure collection. And if you see here, they even have it saying it's like Pika #1. So, you know, it's such a cool memory to have here, and this is something that I really enjoy having as a part of my collection, like I stated, simply because this was something that I enjoyed making with them. Now, again, they helped me with all the painting and the putting together of things, but each week we were getting ready for this race. We really did put in a lot of work for this, and the ideas that kept coming up really allowed these folk to allow me to be as imaginative and creative without that judgment. There was never, oh no, I don't think you should do that. It was, yeah, let's do it, bud. As you know, a little kid that had these memories come up, it was something that I really did appreciate, and I was so excited to be able to have this a part of my collection today. And it really does mean a lot to me, simply because of all the memories tied into the work that went into it, the memories that my grandma was a part of, my sisters, and the amazing people that took it upon themselves to really include me into something that I may have not initially thought about doing, but it is a staple in my collection today. So I really do love it, and clearly there's a theme for the reason why I wanted to show this figure. I really have an appreciation simply for this, as it is so meaningful to me. And as I come to an end here, I want to say thank you for watching throughout this video. I do want to let you know, if no one has told you today, that you are loved, cherished, and cared about, that I love, I cherish, and I care about you. And I absolutely hope you have the best day possible, as you are deserving of nothing less than the best. So until the next time, I hope you have a great day, and I'll catch you later. Peace.